waking up in a small European town during the late Middle Ages. The morning air is cool and slightly damp, and a thin layer of fog hangs over the narrow stone streets. Wooden doors creak open as shopkeepers prepare for another ordinary day. Bakers light their ovens, and the warm smell of fresh bread drifts into the street. Farmers guide slow wooden carts toward the market square. Chickens wander freely between houses, pecking at the dirt roads. At first glance, everything feels peaceful. But today, something unusual is happening. In the center of the town square, several workers are building a large wooden platform. Thick wooden beams are lifted into place while guards stand nearby watching carefully. People passing through the square slow down to look. Some whisper quietly to one another. Others pretend not to notice, because everyone already understands what that platform means. In medieval Europe, justice was often carried out in public, and when a platform like this appears in the town square, it usually means only one thing. Someone in this town has been sentenced to die. Not far from the busy square stands a stone building that most people try not to think about. The town prison. Inside one of its cold cells, a prisoner sits quietly on a rough wooden bench. The room is dim. Thick stone walls block most of the sunlight, and only a narrow opening high in the wall allows a faint beam of light to reach the floor. Water slowly drips somewhere in the darkness. Every sound echoes in the silence. The prisoner already knows what is happening outside. They know the wooden platform in the square has been built for them. Trials in the medieval world were very different from modern courts. Evidence could be weak. Accusations sometimes came from neighbors or local officials. Confessions were not always voluntary. Once the court decided someone was guilty, the sentence was rarely changed. And today the final step of that sentence will be carried out. Soon the guards will open the cell door. Soon the prisoner will be taken outside, and the entire town will be waiting. Elsewhere in the town, another person prepares quietly for the day ahead, the executioner. Executioners were unusual figures in medieval society. They worked for the law, yet many people avoided them in everyday life. Few children ever dreamed of becoming executioners. Often the profession passed from father to son simply because no one else wanted the job. Despite the grim nature of their work, executioners were expected to perform their duties carefully. A poorly carried out execution could anger the crowd or cause unnecessary suffering. Because of this, executioners practiced with their tools. The sword used for beheading had to be extremely sharp. A skilled executioner could complete the task quickly. This morning, the executioner carefully inspects the blade one final time. Soon, the town square will be full of people, and when the moment arrives, every eye will turn toward the scaffold. As the morning passes, the town square begins to fill with people. News of an execution travels quickly in medieval communities. People arrive from every direction. Farmers pause their work. Merchants step away from their stalls. Travelers passing through town stop to see what is happening. Some people come out of curiosity. Others believe witnessing punishment is an important lesson about the law. Street vendors appear near the edges of the square selling bread, fruit, or cups of ale. Children climb onto barrels or stone steps so they can see over the crowd. Guards stand around the platform to keep order. Even with so many voices talking at once, a strange feeling spreads across the square. Anticipation. Everyone knows the moment is getting closer. Soon the prisoner will be brought out, and the crowd will watch what happens next. Inside the prison, the heavy door of the cell finally opens. Two guards step inside. Without speaking much, they untie the prisoner from the wall and bind the wrists with rope. The prisoner is led slowly through the narrow corridor and out into the daylight. The sudden brightness is almost blinding. Outside, the streets are already lined with people. This walk from the prison to the execution site is sometimes called the final procession. People step aside as the guards escort the prisoner toward the square. Some remain silent. Others whisper among themselves. For the condemned prisoner, this short walk through the streets is the final journey of life. The wooden platform stands in the center of the square. From this raised stage, everyone in the crowd will be able to see clearly. Guards guide the prisoner up the steps. The executioner waits nearby. Different crimes often led to different forms of punishment. Some prisoners faced hanging. Others faced burning. But today the sentence will be carried out by beheading. The crowd slowly grows quiet as the prisoner reaches the center of the platform. Hundreds of eyes are watching. The moment of judgment has arrived. Before the punishment begins, an official steps forward with a written document. His voice echoes across the square as he reads the charges aloud. This was an important part of medieval justice. The crowd had to understand why the punishment was being carried out. The crimes are announced clearly. When the reading ends, a heavy silence spreads across the square. The executioner steps forward. The final moments are about to begin. The prisoner kneels beside a wooden block placed at the center of the platform. The executioner raises the blade. For a moment, the entire square seems to stop breathing. Even the restless crowd grows still. Then, in a single swift movement, the sentence is carried out. The moment is quick, but the memory of it will stay with the people who witnessed it. After the execution, the crowd begins to move again. Some people remain silent. Others begin talking immediately, describing what they saw. For the authorities, the purpose of the event has been achieved. The law has been demonstrated publicly. Everyone in the square understands the message. Gradually, the crowd begins to leave. Merchants return to their stalls. Farmers guide their carts back through the streets. Within a few hours, the town square begins to look normal again. But for the people who witnessed the execution, the memory will remain for years. Because public punishments were designed to be unforgettable, as the crowd slowly disappears from the square, the noise fades into the quiet sounds of everyday life returning. Merchants reopen their stalls. Farmers continue their business. Children begin running across the square again as if nothing unusual happened. But the wooden scaffold still stands there in the center. For the people who witnessed the execution, the image will stay in their minds. Public executions were meant to do exactly that. They were meant to be remembered. Authorities believed that fear of punishment would discourage people from committing crimes. Seeing justice carried out with their own eyes made the law feel real and powerful. For many townspeople, the message was clear. The law must be obeyed, and anyone who breaks it could face the same fate. In the days that follow, people continue talking about the execution. Medieval communities relied heavily on word of mouth for news. Travelers leaving the town might describe the event at the next village. Merchants visiting other markets repeat the story to new audiences. With each retelling, the story slowly changes. Some details become exaggerated. Others fade away. But the main message remains the same. Justice was carried out, and the law was enforced. Fear played an important role in maintaining order during the Middle Ages. Unlike modern societies, medieval towns did not have large police forces. Instead, rulers relied on visible punishments to discourage crime. The memory of an execution could stay with witnesses for years. Parents sometimes reminded their children about it when teaching them to follow the law. In this way, public punishment became part of everyday life. After the execution is finished, the executioner quietly completes the remaining work. Tools must be cleaned. The scaffold may be taken apart or left standing for future use. Despite their official role, executioners often lived on the edge of society. Many people avoided them socially. Yet without executioners, medieval justice systems could not function. They were both feared and necessary. As days pass, the town square begins to feel normal again. Markets return. Festivals take place. People gather there for trade and conversation. But those who witnessed the execution still remember. Whenever they pass through the square, they recall the crowd that once gathered there, the silence before the final moment, and the powerful reminder of the law. Medieval justice systems were very different from modern legal systems. Punishments were often severe and public. Authorities believed visible punishment helped maintain order in communities. Although harsh by modern standards, these practices reflected the beliefs and fears of the time. Understanding them helps historians learn how medieval societies functioned. Over time, attitudes toward punishment slowly began to change. As legal systems evolved, many people began questioning the need for public executions. Some argued that such spectacles created more cruelty than justice. Gradually, many countries replaced public punishments with prison systems. By the modern era, most public executions had disappeared. Even today, Many European towns still have old squares where executions once took place. Tourists walk through these places every day without realizing the dramatic events that happened there centuries ago. Stone buildings that now hold cafes or shops once overlooked scaffolds and gathered crowds. History leaves quiet traces everywhere. Looking back at medieval punishments reminds us how much societies have changed. What once seemed normal now feels shocking. But studying these events helps us understand the past more clearly. History shows us how communities struggled to create order and justice in difficult times. The medieval world was filled with traditions that feel distant from modern life. Public executions were one of those traditions. They served as warnings, lessons, and reminders of the authority of the law. Yet they also reveal how dramatically societies can change over time. Today, when people walk through old town squares in Europe, they often see peaceful markets and quiet streets. Few realize that centuries ago those same places witnessed moments of fear, judgment, and final punishment. History leaves its marks in ways we do not always notice. If you enjoy exploring the darker and lesser-known stories of the past, consider subscribing to Midnight History Files. Here we travel slowly through history, uncovering the real events that shape the world we live in today. Rest well, and I will see you in the next journey through history.